Our guest today is a familiar face in the world of education. Rebecca Friedrichs is a former California teacher who rose to fame when she dared to take on the powerful California teachers' unions, for which she believed all teachers should simply have the freedom to opt out if they don't want to pay union dues. She has a great PragerU video entitled Why Teachers' Unions Don't Want School Choice, and her book, Standing Up to Goliath, showcases real stories that expose state and national teachers' unions as the money and the muscle behind the degradation of American schools and culture. Your work, of course, is inspiring to a lot of people. And I mean, a lot of people, thanks to you, know just exactly how recalcitrant the unions are, how adamantly opposed to anything that's going to really improve our schools. A lot of people get that. Let me ask you this question to start, one that puzzles me. Why are so few teachers vocal like you were? Why have the unions succeeded in really silencing teachers? I've been around the country giving, hundreds and hundreds of talks on things like Fed Ed and Common Core, and whenever teachers come up to me, it's always looking over their shoulder. They want to tell me how much they support what I'm doing, but they don't want anybody else to know. What is driving teacher silence on these issues?
I am so glad you started with this question. So the state and national teachers unions have been severely bullying teachers for about 50 years now. When they showed up inside the NEA, the NEA, it was started as this sweet group of teachers just trying to reach children, really with Judeo-Christian values and support with parents, working together with parents, loving teachers, real teachers. But the unions showed up and they took us over. And from day one, they've bullied us. They've basically forced teachers to join their ranks and have silenced us. When I brought my lawsuit against the California Teachers Association and National Education Association, the number one question teachers asked me was, are you afraid for your life? And the second was, are you afraid for your job? The fear is very real. Teachers have been silenced. They are terrified, and they do believe in doing what's right for children, but they're too afraid to speak out, so we need to help them with that.
How do we do that? It seems to me that most teachers, I would argue probably 60% of teachers, really do know. It's a small number relatively that buy all the garbage, that believe that standardized tests are the answer, that sort of fall in line with increasingly federalized things like Common Core. I think it's a pretty small number. I would be willing to bet upwards of 60% of our teachers or more really do know that we are not giving kids a very good education in the subjects. What can teachers do without necessarily having to do what you did, take the unions to court? What can teachers do on a ground level to try to guarantee that our kids are getting a good education in spite of all the pressure that's being brought to bear, not just by the unions, but by the progressive superstructure that tends to run the schools to begin with?
Right. Well, that's exactly why I wrote my book. So Standing Up to Goliath is a book full of stories. It's my story, and it's the stories of dozens of other teachers from across the country, teachers who have served inside of the National Education Association as representative assembly leaders, teachers who've served in the state level leadership, served on their local level. And we all found out that if we dared to question union think or union politics, we were squelched. So the reason I wrote the book is to give voice to real teachers. Like you said, you think 60%. The union's own internal surveys show that 60% of teachers have conservative values. I've discovered from my own experience, it's more like 75% of teachers who really do love the kids and are doing a pretty good job and want what's best and want choice and all of these things, but they've been silenced. So the answer is for parents, faith leaders, community leaders, to stand together with teachers, to get around them, to get an arm around them. I call it adopt a teacher. Adopt every teacher you know and help them to gain a voice because they've been silenced. They want to speak out, but they're too afraid because they're alone and they go to work every day and they get bullied and harassed. They're afraid they're going to lose their job, afraid they'll lose their pension. They believe in all kinds of lies. So we just need to stand together with them. That's the answer.
Are there alternative teacher groups outside of the unions that might allow teachers to band together to stand up collectively? I think most teachers would recognize and be much more vocal if they knew there was this big network of teachers from coast to coast who were speaking out on these issues. Do any such movements exist?
Well, we just built one. So as I wrote this book, I thought to myself, what are these teachers going to do once they read the truth? They find out that they're not alone, that there are many of us who've been bullied and who want to speak out. Now, where do they go? So I started something called For Kids and Country. It's a nonprofit. And our goal is uniting, engaging, educating, and empowering parents, teachers, community leaders in the fight to restore our schools and our culture. So we've built that. They can go to our website, forkidsandcountry.org, get all kinds of information. And there they can learn about these organizations that you asked about that offer them things like liability insurance, offer them a way to organize without the union. There's Association of American Educators, Christian Educators Association International, and other local groups. We aim to help teachers create a community. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our website, just giving these teachers a voice so that they'll realize they're not alone and we can all stand together. One last thing about what you asked is, it's real important for teachers to learn. Thousands of them have asked me, Rebecca, is there a way I can keep my local association? I like standing together with my local teachers in this corrupt system, but get rid of the state and national. The answer is yes, they can do that. So we help them to learn that they can actually decertify or disaffiliate from the state and national, because right now their local is legally tied to those. So most of their money is going to far left politics that the unions favor. They can stop that and create a local-only association, pay a whole lot less money, keep all that money local, quit funding politics. We could really do some major reform in our schools if we could get the state and national teachers unions out.
If teachers need to get out and buy your book, give them a recommendation. How do they get a hold of a copy of your book?
Yeah, thank you. The best way is to go online. It's available on Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. I created an audio version, so if they're busy or they commute, they can listen to it on audio. It's also on Kindle. So Standing Up to Goliath, they just type that in by Rebecca Friedrichs. They should be able to find it.
We have a couple of Goliaths here. There's not just the unions. I'm a professor of English at a university here in Wisconsin, and one of the things I get routinely every year are students who are training to become high school English teachers. And when I listen to these kids tell me the way they're being trained, the anti-literary views they're being given, the empty-headed multiculturalism, the social justice activism that's really transforming their education. My kids tell me, my education majors tell me, they take the same multicultural class 4 or 5 different times under different categories. Meanwhile, nobody's teaching them how to teach kids to write better or read better. Just your thoughts on university departments of education and to what degree they're contributing to the degraded education that the kids are getting now.
Yeah, I'm super glad you asked this, because guess what? That's the teachers' unions too. One of the things I show in my book is the resolution documents and some of the new business items that the teachers' unions pass each year. You will be shocked. They are behind the divisive rhetoric in this culture. For instance, this year they gave their President's Award to Colin Kaepernick, and then union leaders took a knee during the national anthem. They are behind the rewriting of our history. They are behind what you're talking about is an infiltration of our teacher colleges that used to be outstanding. We used to train teachers in a classical liberal arts education, which was sound and wonderful and the envy of the world. We've removed all of that and replaced it with all of this multiculturalism and other things you're discussing, women's studies. It's all the teachers' unions. They are pushing all of that. It's all in their documents. They work together with many other groups like Southern Poverty Law Center, Planned Parenthood, ACLU, the whole bunch of very powerful groups. But the reason I say the unions are where we need to focus our energies is because they're the root that's getting this into all of our schools, preschool all the way through the university, and they're taking money from teachers, billions a year, billions, and spending it on all this far left politics and destroying our educational system, and teachers have no idea. So we just need to educate teachers, get them out of that system so that we can bring restoration.
And I'm pretty sure I know where you're going to go with this next answer. The unions do have their fingers in all these pies. But one of the things I know you also care deeply about, and we've spent a lot of time on this show trying to expose, is the degree to which they are using the American government schools to sexualize children at really young ages. I know firsthand that the unions are pushing this as well. The teacher colleges are pushing this as well. Talk a little bit more about what they hope to gain, the unions, by sexualizing children as young as elementary school.
Yeah, it's actually going down to preschool now. So they very much are sexualizing children, and they've been sexualizing teachers. They've been indoctrinating all of us for decades in this sexualization of children, teaching little children that they should be performing anal sex and all kinds of sex from very young ages, very inappropriate stuff that I don't know one parent or teacher who agrees with all of it. Why do I think they're doing it? I believe they are trying to completely transform our culture, and they're starting from within the schools, and they bully teachers. If teachers say, hey, I'm not going to teach that, that's child abuse, they say, that's fine. You don't have to teach it. We'll bring in the experts. Planned Parenthood and their friends teach it. It's very troubling. One of the things people don't realize is that the teachers union's goal is to transform our culture. These are people who are pushing their own personal, social, sexual, and political agenda. They really are the right arm of the Democrat, far left part of the Democrat Party. They are writing their talking points. I've seen it with my own eyes, where teachers like myself hear these talking points. Homophobe, calling people who disagree with them Nazis and things like that. Teachers have heard that for years and years, and then suddenly it comes out in the form of Democrat talking points. So these unions are truly trying to transform our culture. I believe trying to tell our children what's normal and undermining parental authority and teacher authority, and we have got to fight back.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from this interview is the American schools now, through the large aegis of the teachers' unions, with all that control and money, they are using our kids against us. They are using our kids as pawns in their own wicked progressive agenda. They are trying to transform the culture by separating kids from parents. One of the reasons you sexualize little children is to divorce those kids from their parents' worldview, religious worldview. It really is insidious. It's the kind of thing that went on in Soviet schools, and it really needs to come to an end. The unions are really behind this. Rebecca, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I hope our paths cross again soon. Keep up the great work.